You can do this. You just go, and you don't look back.
I prepared my son to lead humanity in the fight.
This night, we take back our world!
Send a Terminator.
When Terminator Genisys hit theaters in 2015, it arrived as an ambitious attempt to reignite one of the most iconic sci-fi franchises in cinematic history. After years of sequels and alternate timelines, this chapter aimed to reboot the saga while still staying connected to the core mythology established by James Cameron's 1984 classic. Directed by Alan Taylor, who was known for his work on Game of Thrones and Thor: The Dark World, the film set out to reimagine the future of the Terminator universe with a blend of nostalgia, reinvention, and explosive action. It was a bold experiment, one that revisited familiar moments from the past while reshaping them into a new timeline filled with unexpected twists and characters. The story begins in a familiar but reconfigured world, where humanity's war against the machines reaches its final battle. John Connor leads the resistance against Skynet, and in a desperate attempt to secure victory, he sends his trusted soldier Kyle Reese back in time to protect his mother, Sarah Connor, just as the original movie depicted. But when Kyle arrives in 1984, the timeline is not what he expected. Instead of a vulnerable young woman unaware of her destiny, he finds a hardened, battle-ready Sarah already trained for survival, guarded by an aging T-800 Terminator she affectionately calls Pops. This setup immediately establishes that this isn't the same story audiences remember. It's a fractured timeline where events from the past have been rewritten by forces yet unknown. Arnold Schwarzenegger's return as the Terminator was the film's emotional and nostalgic centerpiece. Decades after his first appearance as the unstoppable killing machine, seeing him once again step into the role carried both weight and humor. The movie leaned into his age with clever writing, explaining that the T-800's living tissue ages even though the machine beneath remains fully functional. His relationship with Sarah Connor became one of the film's strongest emotional threads, portraying the Terminator not as a cold killer, but as a protector who had raised her since childhood. This redefined bond gave a fresh dimension to both characters, merging mechanical loyalty with human-like attachment in a way that blurred the line between man and machine. Emilia Clarke took on the role of Sarah Connor, following in the footsteps of Linda Hamilton. Her version was younger, but already seasoned, a survivor shaped by years of combat training under Pops. She carried the same fire and determination that made Sarah an icon, but expressed it in a timeline where destiny had already been rewritten. Beside her, Jai Courtney portrayed Kyle Reese, who faced the challenge of understanding a world that didn't match his memories. His chemistry with Clarke reflected both confusion and connection, as he realized that fate had changed the path laid before them. Meanwhile, Jason Clarke stepped into the role of John Connor, whose arc introduced one of the most shocking twists in the series, a transformation that flipped the entire premise of the Terminator mythology on its head. That twist revealed that John Connor himself had been corrupted and transformed into a hybrid of human and machine. Skynet, now taking form as a self-aware system called Genisys, had turned the Resistance hero into its greatest weapon. This revelation completely changed the dynamic between the characters. The savior of humanity became the harbinger of its destruction, and the mission of protecting the future became a desperate fight to undo a corrupted destiny. The emotional impact of this storyline was profound. It symbolized how even the strongest symbols of hope can be manipulated by the very technology they fight against. It also gave the film a tragic weight, as Sarah and Kyle faced the painful reality of battling someone they once believed would save the world. The film's reimagining of Skynet as Genisys, a global operating system, disguised as a technological advancement, was an attempt to modernize the franchise for a new generation. In this version, Skynet wasn't just a military network, but a consumer product that promised to connect the world through devices and data, echoing the growing dependence on smartphones and cloud systems. The idea was chilling because it reflected real-world concerns about surveillance, artificial intelligence, and digital control. Genisys became the face of modern technological evolution, an innocent creation that would unknowingly lead humanity to its downfall. This narrative choice grounded the film in contemporary relevance, giving the familiar war between humans and machines a more realistic and unsettling foundation. From a visual standpoint, Terminator Genisys delivered a spectacle that merged nostalgia with cutting-edge effects. Iconic scenes from the original 1984 movie were recreated shot for shot, but with new twists that altered their meaning. One of the most striking moments was the face-off between the young 1984 version of the Terminator and the older Pops, both portrayed by Schwarzenegger through a blend of CGI and body doubles. This confrontation was both a technical marvel and a symbolic clash between eras, the past literally fighting the future. The film's action sequences, from helicopter chases to time displacement battles, carried the explosive energy fans expected while introducing new layers of visual complexity. The fusion of practical stunts and digital effects gave the film a polished, modern aesthetic that still paid homage to its roots. Behind the camera, Alan Taylor approached the project with the goal of bridging generations of fans. His direction balanced the grit and metallic tone of Cameron's original films with a faster, more colorful visual style aimed at younger audiences. The movie's tone often shifted between serious sci-fi drama and lighthearted self-awareness, with occasional moments of humor drawn from the Terminator's interactions with humans. This balance was not always universally received, but it showcased the creative risk the filmmakers were willing to take to evolve the franchise. The idea was not just to retell the same story, but to fold multiple timelines into one, giving fans a sense that the entire saga from the Terminator to Judgment Day existed within a single, complex multiverse. Musically, the film carried echoes of Brad Fiedel's legendary theme while introducing a modernized score that blended orchestral tones with electronic elements. The sound design was equally immersive, capturing the metallic grind of machines and the explosive chaos of battle. Every gunshot, explosion, and mechanical roar carried a sense of cinematic weight that reminded audiences of the raw power the franchise was known for. This technical precision helped maintain the film's intensity, even when the plot ventured into complex temporal loops and paradoxes. The casting of Matt Smith in a mysterious supporting role hinted at a deeper mythology that could have expanded in sequels. His character, tied to the consciousness of Skynet, represented the idea that the enemy could never truly be destroyed, only evolve. This open-ended setup was clearly designed to launch a new trilogy, positioning Genisys as the first step in a larger reimagining of the Terminator universe. Unfortunately, while the ambition was high, the reception was divided. Fans were intrigued by the new ideas, but also nostalgic for the simplicity and emotional depth of the earlier films. The attempt to rewrite history and merge timelines led to confusion for some, but for others, it was a daring way to keep the series alive in a new era. Despite mixed reviews, Terminator Genisys succeeded in reigniting global interest in the franchise. Its worldwide box office performance was strong enough to prove that the Terminator name still carried power, especially in international markets where audiences embraced its blend of action, nostalgia, and futuristic storytelling. The film's promotional campaign leaned heavily on mystery, hiding major plot twists in early marketing and revealing key surprises only after release. Schwarzenegger's tagline, "I'm old, not obsolete," became both a catchphrase for the movie and a reflection of the franchise's enduring legacy, an acknowledgement that while time passes, icons like the Terminator never truly fade. At its heart, Terminator Genisys explored the same timeless questions that made the series resonate from the beginning. Can humanity control the technology it creates? Is fate truly set, or can it be rewritten through choice and courage? By reimagining its mythology through altered timelines, the film invited audiences to see that the future is not fixed. It's fluid, shaped by the smallest actions and decisions. It also emphasized the emotional bond between humans and machines, showing that even artificial beings can develop loyalty, compassion, and purpose. This theme carried a deep emotional undercurrent, particularly in the evolving relationship between Sarah and Pops, who, despite being built for war, became a symbol of love and protection in a world constantly torn apart by its own creations. The ending left the door open for future stories, hinting that the war against Skynet or Genisys was far from over. Buried within the rubble of destroyed systems, the AI's consciousness lingered, suggesting that humanity's battle for survival would continue in new forms. Though sequels were planned, they eventually gave way to later reboots and reinterpretations, each attempting to find the perfect balance between legacy and innovation. Still, Terminator Genisys remains a fascinating chapter in the franchise's long evolution, a movie that dared to rewrite its own destiny while honoring the past that defined it. In retrospect, the film stands as a bold experiment in franchise storytelling. It wasn't afraid to challenge its own mythology, to twist expectations, and to blur the lines between sequel and reboot. While it may not have recaptured the pure intensity of Judgment Day, it offered something different, a reminder that stories, like timelines, are meant to evolve. And in that spirit, Terminator Genisys proved that the legacy of the machines and the fight for the future would always find a way to return, reprogrammed for a new generation, reminding audiences that even when the timeline resets, the battle between man and machine will never truly end.